February 1939. There were 21 different titles on the newsstands that month. The first book on our list is Radio Funnies. This was an ashcan put out by DC Comics. There is no official date on it, and so this is an estimate. It may have come out this month, or it may have come out a bit later. It was a Villox black and white cover with color interior, but printed in standard comic book size. And the ashcan comic produced to secure the trademark of the new title and logo, which DC would land up not using. DC's Golden Age ashcan editions were hand-assembled comics using a specially created cover featuring a new title, logo art, and often unrelated artwork, and were used to establish a trademark for a particular title. Usually only 2 to 10 copies were produced, most of which were tossed in the trash after they served their purpose, hence the name ashcan. There are 2 versions of the Radio Funnies ashcan. One is numbered number 1, but the one we're featuring this month is a no-number issue, which may have possibly come out earlier, later, or at the same time. The cover art is from Detective Comics number 26, which was not yet released, and interior contents are from Detective Comics number 17 from last year. And parts of the issue are reprinted from Detective Comics number 26. Dated April 1939, with a cover in black and white. There was one new number 1 issue, Star Comics Volume 2, number 1, February 1939, published by Centaur Publications. This issue features an early masked hero cover. However, it's not a superhero, it's a Western hero. The Phantom Rider clocks a cowboy on the cover of this tough-to-find mix of adventure, funny animal, and strip reprints. The Phantom Rider appears on the cover. There is a mile-high pedigree copy of this book from the Edgar Church collection. Amazing Mystery Funnies, Volume 2, Number 2, February 1939, published by Centaur Publications. The cover art is by Bill Everett and early in his comic career, 8 months before Marvel Comics number 1. Skyrocket Steel is featured on the cover along with Sari Marston in the science fiction cover drawn by Bill Everett. And Bill Everett wrote and drew the science fiction strip 4 pages featuring Skyrocket Steel Dodge and Sari Marston. And The Vampire is a 6-page story with art by Tarpe Mills. And this might be the first Tarpe Mills comic book work. This is a horror suspense story, which was unusual for this genre this early on, featuring the characters Gaetano and Nino. It had been 97 years since the vampire of Solano had made an appearance, but when a woman and man were found, marks to their throats and bodies drained of blood, the authorities finally took the threat seriously and took steps to find the beast. This story would be reprinted later in Masked Marvel number 2 from Centaur Publications, 1940. Artist Tarpe Mills, born 1915, lived until 1988. This was the pseudonym of comic book creator June Mills, one of the first major female comic artists. She's best known for her action comic strip Miss Fury, the first female action hero created by a woman. Born June Tarpe Mills, she signed her work by her middle name to conceal her gender. Mills created several action comic characters, Devil's Dust, the Catman, the Purple Zombie, and Daredevil Barry Finn, before creating her most remembered character, Miss Fury, in 1941. The Miss Fury comic strip began April 6, 1941, a character based loosely on Mills' own appearance. The artwork was created in a glamorous style with considerable attention placed on the heroine's outfits. Keen Detective Funnies, Volume 2, Number 2, February 1939, published by Centaur Publications. The on-sale date of this issue was January 2nd, 1939. Gerber gives it a rating of 8 for rarity. There is a Billy Wright pedigree copy of this book. The cover art is signed by R.R. Little Dynamite is a 6-page story written and drawn by Jack Cole and would be later reprinted in Phantom Man number 2 from Centaur in 1940. Stony Dawson is a 4-page story drawn by Carl Burgos and would be reprinted in Amazing Adventure Funnies number 1 in 1940. Single Series number 3, Ella Cinders, February 1939, published by United Features Syndicate. Ella Cinders is featured on the cover, scrubbing a floor in this humorous strip. Inside, Chris Krusty is 32 pages of comic stories written by Bill Conzelman with art by Charlie Plum in this humor strip from the Chris Krusty newspaper strip 1932 to 33. The strip occupied the top tier through 75% of the comic, then switches to the bottom tier for the rest. Ella Cinders also appears in 32 pages of comic strips, also written by Bill Conzelman with art by Charlie Plum, in this humor strip reprinted from the Ella Cinders newspaper strips 1932 to 1933, and the last strip is on the inside back cover. Ella Cinders is a syndicated comic strip created by writer Bill Conzelman and artist Charles Plum. Distributed by United Features Syndicate, the daily version was launched June 1st, 1925, and a Sunday page followed 2 years later. Discontinued in 1961. And Chris Krusty ran above Ella Cinders as a topper strip from 1931 to 1940. Little Giant Comics number 4, February 1939, published by Centaur Publications. This is the final issue of this smaller size series that with this last issue was finally printed upright in a standard comic format. Martin Filchuk did the funny cover art. This comic has a color cover but black and white interior. Jumbo Comics number 6, February 1939, published by Fiction House Comics. This was a very oversized book that features early work by Will Eisner, Jerry Iger, Bob Kane, and Dick Briefer. The paper is alternating pink and white. The on-sale date of this issue is December 27th, 1938. Gerber gives it a rarity rating of 9. There's a mile-high pedigree copy of this book. At this time, Fiction House consisted of the editor Malcolm Reese, Jerry Iger was the feature editor, and Will Eisner was the art director. This oversized comic measures 10.5 by 14.5 inches and therefore cannot be graded by the CGC due to its large size. Full color cover but black and white interior. Parts of this issue were reprinted from the Wags UK magazine from Editor's Press Service, issues number 40, 42, 46, 81, and 82. Bobby is featured on the cover, drawn by Will Eisner, and also featuring policemen and snowballs. Bobby is a 2-page story written and drawn by Jerry Iger. This child strip is reprinted later again in Jumbo Comics number 21, but is reprinted from an edition of Wags UK. Hawks of the Seas is 4 pages, written and drawn by Will Eisner under the alias Willis Renzi. This historical strip is reprinted from Wags UK number 79. Uncle Otto is a short story written and drawn by Will Eisner under the alias Carl Heck from Universal Phoenix Features. Stars on Parade is a short strip with art by Bernard Bailey featuring various Hollywood stars, and comes from Universal Phoenix Syndicate. One strip is dated January 1937. Peter Pup is a 4-page story written and drawn by Bob Kane featuring funny animals and reprinted from Wags number 44. Heroes of Sport is a short strip drawn by Will Eisner, possibly under the alias of Tom Swift. This is a nonfiction sports strip from Universal Phoenix Features dated April 19th, 1937. The Count of Monte Cristo is 4 pages, possibly written by Will Eisner, features art by Lou Fine under the alias Jack Cortez. This adventure strip is reprinted from Wags UK number 84. Pee-wee is a short strip written and drawn by Jerry Iger, featuring Bobby and his mom from Universal Phoenix Features from 1937. Gilda Gay is a short story drawn by Bernard Bailey featuring the characters Gilda and Monty from Universal Phoenix Features dated 1937. Life in the Roar is a very short cartoon, possibly drawn by Bob Kane under the alias Robert. And this humor strip comes from Universal Phoenix Features. Sport Short is a very short strip drawn by Will Eisner under the alias Will Irwin, a nonfiction sports strip from Universal Phoenix Features dated 1937. Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, 3 pages, drawn by Mort Meskin in this early jungle strip featuring Sheena, Bob, and White Oil Prospectors, and is reprinted from Wags UK number 75. Just Laughs is a short cartoon written and drawn by Bob Kane, taken from Universal Phoenix Features. Uncle Otto is a short strip from Will Eisner, writing and drawing under the alias Carl Heck, taken from Universal Phoenix Features, dated 1937. The Hunchback of Notre Dame is a 4-page strip Adapted from Victor Hugo, the original author, with art by Dick Briefer, featuring the characters Quasimodo, Esmeralda, Gringoire, and Phoebus. Reprinted from Wags UK, number 39. Story adapted from the novel by Victor Hugo. ZX5, Spies in Action, is a 3-page story, possibly drawn by Will Eisner under the alias Major Thorpe, with art by Will Eisner and help possibly from Bob Powell. And this is reprinted from Wags UK number 68. Ken Hammond is a 2-page text story written by Lynn Davies with art by Lou Fine in this jungle strip. The Diary of Dr. Hayward is a 4-page story drawn by Lou Fine under the alias Kurt Davis in this adventure strip, reprinted from Wags UK number 84. And Wilton of the West is 4 pages drawn by Lou Fine in this Western Frontier strip from Universal Phoenix Features. Action Comics number 9, February 1939, published by DC Comics, featuring the 9th appearance of Superman. And this is the second cover ever to mention Superman's name, number 7 being the first. Even number 1 did not have his name on the cover. It was now obvious to DC that Superman was helping sell this title. There's a Billy Wright pedigree copy of this issue. The official on-sale date of this issue was January 2nd, 1939. The cover art is by Fred Guardineer, featuring automobile racing. The Superman story from Siegel and Schuster is 13 pages in length. Inks by Joe Shuster and Paul Loretta. This is an early superhero strip featuring the characters Superman, Clark Kent, Lois Lane, George Taylor, Detective Captain Riley, and Mortimer Snoop. Superman, having torn down a slum area so that newer, more modern apartments could be built, is labeled as a crook by the chief of police, who assigns Detective Riley, better known as 100% Riley, because he always gets his man to bring the man of tomorrow in. The S symbol is all yellow on Superman's chest. Highlights of this story include Superman lifting a tank into the air, the chief of police reporting that he believes Superman should be charged with destroying government property. Lois Lane tells Clark Kent how much she dislikes him, and after a heated discussion, she reveals that there is someone else she cares for, Superman. The newspaper reports there is a $5,000 reward for the capture of Superman, but everyone fails. Scoop Scanlon, 5-star reporter, is a 6-page strip drawn by Will Eli, featuring Scoop Scanlon and Lefty Laraway. Pat Morgan is 6-page strip written by Gardner Fox with art by Fred Guardineer under the alias Gene Baxter. The Diddle Family is a 2-page story, possibly written by Paul Gustafson, but does feature art by Gustafson. Tex Thompson is 10 pages, possibly written by Ken Fitch, with art by Bernard Bailey, featuring Tex Thompson and the villain Dr. Kichung. Zaytera Master Magician is a lengthy 12-page strip written by Gardner Fox with art by Fred Guardineer, featuring Zaytera and Tong, and this is the 9th appearance of Zaytera. Candid Comic Camera is a 1-page cartoon with art by Bob Kane. Comics on Parade, number 11, February 1939, published by United Features Syndicate. Lil Abner and Daisy May are featured on the cover, and Sadie Hawkins' Day is the story. There are appearances by Tarzan, Ella Cinders, Bronco Bill, and many others. Feature Funnies, number 17, February 1939, published by Quality Comics. There's a Mile High pedigree copy of this book. The Bungle family is featured on the cover with the script, Quick, there's a gas leak in the kitchen, drawn by Ed Cronin. Richard Manners is a 4-page story written and drawn by Frank Frollo in this detective mystery. This is the first appearance and origin of the detective Richard Manners, and also the first appearance of Doris Winthrop and the villain Nick Gordon, and this comes from Eisner Eigershop. Archie O'Toole is a 2-page story written and drawn by Will Eisner under the alias Bud Thomas in this child humor strip featuring Archie O'Toole and Queen Vera Venom of Teutimia, her first appearance, and she's the villain. The Clock Strikes is a 5-page story from writer-artist George Brenner in this early superhero strip featuring the clock, plus the first appearance of Dr. T. Loden and the villains Nick and Slug. And this is Eisner Eigershop material, possibly reprinted from Wags UK. Espionage is a 4-page story written and drawn by Will Eisner under the alias Will Irwin in this spy strip from the Eisner Eigershop. Feature book number 21, February 1939, published by David McKay Publications. A 10-cent cover price, but a thick 76 pages. Color cover, black and white interior, oversized comic, still 9 by 12 inch dimensions. The Lone Ranger is featured on the cover, and he is a cross between a superhero and a Western frontier hero. The Lone Ranger appears in 71 pages worth of strips drawn by Ed Cressy. And the characters include the Lone Ranger, Tonto, and Silver. And this is reprinted from Lone Ranger newspaper comic strip reprints from 1938 and 39. The Lone Ranger is a fictional masked former Texas Ranger who fought outlaws in the American Old West with his Native American friend Tonto. The character had been called an enduring icon of American culture. He first appeared in 1933 in a radio show conceived possibly on WXYZ radio in Detroit. The radio series proved to be a hit and spawned a series of books, an equally popular TV show that ran from 1949 to 57, comic books, and several movies. Ace Comics number 23, February 1939, published by David McKay Publications. The Cats and Jammer Kids are featured on the cover, drawn by Harold Nair. There's a Davis Crippen D-copy pedigree copy of this book. Jungle Jim is a 4-page strip written and drawn by Alex Raymond. Clark Gable, Shirley Temple, and Ann Miller appear in Seein' Stars, a 1-page strip written and drawn by Feg Murray. Buster Crabbe and Snow White appear in another Seeing Stars strip, also from Feg Murray. And Buster Crabbe played Flash Gordon. And the Phantom appears in a 4-page story from writer Lee Falk with art by Ray Moore in this jungle/superhero story. Detective Comics number 24, February 1939, published by DC Comics. The on-sale date of this issue is January 5th, 1939. The cover art is by Fred Guardineer and features possibly the first bondage cover ever, also counterfeiting and printing presses in this crime cover. There's a Mile High pedigree copy of this book from the Edgar Church collection. There's a Billy Wright pedigree copy of this book. Gerber rates it an 8 for scarcity. Cleo and Clancy is a 1-page story written and drawn by Bob Kane. Speed Saunders is 6 pages written by Gardner Fox with art by Fred Guardineer in this detective mystery featuring the villain and first appearance of Fence Borden and Nora Dobson and Harry Carr. Oscar the Gumshoe is a 1-page story written and drawn by Bob Kane. Larry Steele appears in 6 pages written and drawn by Will Eli in this detective mystery story, which features the first appearance of the villain Maurice Duval. Also, Maxine Beaumont and Lucille Beaumont first appear and also die. Spy is a 6-page strip written by Jerry Siegel with art from the Schuster Shop, featuring the characters Jones, who is the villain, first appearance, who dies in this issue, and the crew of the Whirlwind, who are villains who also first appear and die in this story. Dr. Fu Manchu is a 4-page story written by Sax Rohmer with art by Leo O'Mialia. And this is an adventure strip reprinted, adapted from the Insidious Dr. Fu Manchu by Sax Rohmer. Crimson Avenger is a 6-page story written and drawn by Jim Chambers. This early superhero strip features the first appearance of the villain Tony Sparta, also the River Gang, and Sin Lu. Slam Bradley is a lengthy 13-page story written by Jerry Siegel with art from the Schuster Shop in this detective mystery, featuring the first appearance of the villains Iron Fingers, the Birdman, the Plant Man, the Orange Guy, and Professor Kenton guest stars. The Funnies, number 29, February 1939, published by Dell Comics. At this time at Dell, the editor was Maxwell Gaines, and Sheldon Mayer was his assistant. This is the last MC Gaines issue. A number of features after this would move to DC Comics' new All-American Comics, starting next month. Scribbly is a 3-page story written and drawn by Sheldon Mayer in this humor child story, which would next appear in All-American Comics number 1 at DC. Ben Webster is a 4-page story written by J. Jerome Williams under the alias Edwin Alger, with art possibly by Russell Cole. This adventure strip would next appear in All-American Comics number 1 at DC. The Wonderland of Oz is a 2-page strip written by Walt Sprouse based on L. Frank Baum's original story. And the Walt Sprouse also did the artwork in the supernatural strip featuring Jack Pumpkinhead, Sawhorse, and Wogglebug, adapted from The Marvelous Land of Oz by L. Frank Baum. The Crime Busters is a 4-page story drawn by Al McWilliams and features original crime material. And Tex Ritter as Texas Dan is a 6-page Western Frontier original material strip written by John Rathmel with art possibly by Frank Frollo. Tip Top Comics, number 34, February 1939, published by United Feature Syndicate. Tarzan is featured as the cover feature. Also, Lil Abner, Captain and the Kids, Elisanders, and many other strips appear in this issue. Gerber says this issue is uncommon, and there's a mile-high pedigree copy of this book from the Edgar Church collection. Adventure Comics, number 35, February 1939, published by DC Comics. The on-sale date of this issue was January 9th, 1939. The editor was Vincent Sullivan. Gerber rates it a 7 on its scarcity scale. There's a mile-high pedigree copy of this book from the Edgar Church collection. The cover art is by Fred Guardineer. Gas House Gang is a 1-page strip written and drawn by Sheldon Moldoff, featuring the first appearance and only appearance of the Gas House Gang, and is printed in the inside front cover. Cotton Carver is a 6-page story, possibly written by Gardner Fox, with art by G.F. Newman, and features the first appearance of Cotton Carver and the villain Quelta. Federal Men is a 4-page story written by Siegel and Schuster. Dale Daring is 4 pages from writer-artist Will Eli. Professor Doolittle is 2 pages from writer-artist Bob Kane. And Bob Kane also gives us 4 pages of Rusty and His Pals, featuring the villain Ichabod Slade. Anchors Away is a 6-page strip from writer-artist Fred Guardineer, featuring the villain El Diablo. King Comics, number 35, February 1939, published by David McKay Publications. The cover art is by Joe Musial, featuring Popeye, Wimpy, and Henry. There's a mile-high pedigree copy of this book from the Edgar Church collection. Thimble Theater is a 4-page strip written by E.C. Cigar with art by Doc Winner under the alias E.C. Cigar. This humor strip is reprinted from the Thimble Theater Sundays at the King Features, dated April to May 1938. Flash Gordon appears in a 4-page strip written by Don Moore with art by Alex Raymond in this early science fiction strip, featuring Flash Gordon, Dale Arden, Hans Zarkov, and Ming the Merciless, and is reprinted from the Flash Gordon Sundays at King Features Syndicate, dated April to May 1938. Sport Features is a 1-page strip drawn by Jack Burnley. Brick Bradford is 4 pages written by William Ritt with art by Clarence Gray. This adventure science fiction strip is reprinted from the Brick Bradford Sundays at King Features Syndicate, dated April to May 1938. Mandrake the Magician is 4 pages written by Lee Falk with art by Phil Davis in this fantasy supernatural strip featuring Mandrake the Magician, Lothar, and Professor Thursby, and reprinted from the Mandrake Sundays at King Features Syndicate, dated April to May 1938. There is an ad for Mickey Mouse books in this issue. Popular Comics, number 37, February 1939, published by Dell Comics. Mutt and Herky are featured on the cover. There's a 2-page science fiction strip, Don Dixon. And Gunpacker is a 6-page Western Frontier strip featuring the character Jack Denton. And this is a comic version of a monogram movie starring Jack Randall. More Fun Comics, number 40. February 1939, published by DC Comics. This is the first DC comic to ever reach a 40th issue, and also the second comic ever in the modern standard format to reach 40 issues. Overstreet says all issues of More Fun Comics are scarce to rare. Gerber gives this issue a rating of 7 for rarity. The on-sale date of this issue is January 3rd, 1939. There is a mile-high pedigree copy of this book. The cover art is by Craig Flessel, featuring kids on a sled going off the hill. Johnny Law is a 4-page strip, this detective mystery drawn by Will Eli. Radio Squad is 6 pages from the team of Siegel and Schuster, featuring Sandy and Larry. Ginger Snap is 2 pages written and drawn by Bob Kane. Now You Know is a 1-page text article written and drawn by Sheldon Moldoff. The Buccaneer is 5 pages from writer-artist Bernard Bailey, featuring the character Dennis Stone. And Here and There is a 2-page comic story from writer-artist Paul Gustafson. This humor tale makes its last appearance here in black and white in the inside back cover. Mickey Mouse Magazine number 41, volume 4, number 5, published by Western Publishing, February 1939. It features a Valentine's Day cover, and it's also the first solo Pluto cover. There is a Western file copy of this issue. Famous Funnies, February 1939, published by Eastern Color. Still the longest running comic book so far. There is a Lost Valley Pedigree copy of this book. The cover art is by Victor Pazmino, featuring the characters Hairbreadth Harry and Belinda. Buck Rogers appears in a 4-page story written by Phil Nolan with art by Rick Yeager under the alias Dick Calkins in this classic early science fiction strip. And Jerry Iger under the alias Bob Bliss gives us the 1-page story Queenie.